Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the next episode of the Casual Comic Cast. I'm of course Matt Stain, your DC Half in News, and
Wes Fontaine here with Spider-Man news.
that's pretty much it.
Marvel.
Yeah, that's literally all we're talking about today is just Spider-Man Homecoming. Because that dropped. That dropped and we got to see it. We got to watch it. Not like we were invited or anything. We bought you bought tickets.
We got exclusive.
No, we're not that good. But we saw it. And spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and say that.
Yeah, there will
I'm
be
going to
spoilers.
just talk about whatever and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, you should actually look up one thing before we even start to fucking mention it.
I am on it.
And I think you know the one thing that I need. I need the name of the one character who we thought he was going to be, but we need to know who he actually was.
Okay, yeah. So first I need to just go to IMDb.
Now
let's
while he's doing that, before we get into the Spider-Man, I'll just make a quick reference to the fact of, I believe it was the last podcast I said the whole thing about Aquaman, and I failed to bring my source material to talk about that. So I brought it this time, so we'll just reflect a little bit on the last podcast, just briefly. So I did mention that, he does get the longer hair in the comic now, instead of the short-haired, and it's like the darker orange and green,
Let's see the cover. He does look more like Momoa. He's still blonde, but he does look more like Momoa.
So he just has the longer hair. He has like a darker feel.
He looks a lot more.
So there you
like
go.
him there
Here's
that,
another
in that,
inside
panel.
shot on the end. There's a panel. So there will be that. So that's just a quick nod to the Aquaman reference that I was saying, that it seems like the comics are kind of reflecting a little bit, not like maybe story will be different, but looks-wise, they're kind of reflecting what they're doing with the whole Justice League, so that's kind of cool. Because personally, I think this Aquaman looks a lot better. The other one was a little...
Yeah. If you're a fan of the old school, clean cut, pretty boy Aquaman, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
No offense to you, it's just personal opinion.
He looks so much more badass.
He looks badass with the long hair and the darker colors.
He looks like a superhero.
Yeah.
The other Aquaman looked like a guy that probably got beat up.
And he also, he looks like he looks like he can mess somebody up. Like he can really defend Atlantis and whatever now. Whereas the other one is just like, if he really wasn't calling on a bunch of fish, he couldn't do much. But looks wise. But all right, so Aaron, okay. Okay, so we will go ahead and
let's go ahead and get
there's a couple other things of news, but I just wanted to quickly cover that Aquaman thing. But we'll go ahead and do the prime subject matter that is important about this video, which is what you probably tuned in here for, which is the Spider-Man Homecoming review. Spoilers will be said.
Yep.
Possible
So
Easter eggs will be talked about, and maybe so stay tuned. So we'll go ahead and start off with the biggest one. People, when we saw the third Homecoming trailer, we saw Donald Glover, and we had that big prediction. Oh, that's definitely Miles. Other than the fact,
what was our percentage? 90%.
That's what you gave it. You said 99%.
I said 99%.
Yeah, so
and I stuck to that to the movie. Yeah, I never went away from that.
And so the thing is, the only thing that was a little bit different is the thing that really made us not say 100% is because of the fact that he's older and you have this younger. I cannot talk today. The younger Peter Parker, and so due to that reasoning, that exact reasoning that I just said, the age gap, that would be why we're going to go ahead and say that. I mean, Donald Glover is not Miles Morales in the film. You can tell that from the two scenes that he is in.
As well as his name that is given in the
as well as the name. Yeah. And the name, the role that he is playing is
Aaron Davis.
Yep, Aaron Davis.
Otherwise known as the Prowler.
Yeah. Those of you that do not know.
I did not know the Prowler.
Anything
know that
about
he was the Prowler.
The character.
We got plenty of stuff if you want to go through that.
It is his uncle, right?
Yes. Miles Morales is Aaron Davis' nephew.
It's the uncle of Miles Morales.
Which means
so
he's
therefore It's referencing Miles Morales.
Is there.
Miles is there.
He's there.
He's just
we don't
not
know where.
Yeah, he's just not Spider-Man yet, more than likely, seeing how Peter just kind of got his power. So more than likely, I'm going to go off and say he's just not there yet.
Yeah, we'll see him, I assume, at some point.
Yeah, they did make that nod. They did leave that opening for what the fans wanted. They wanted to see some Miles.
And let's keep in mind that originally when we saw Donald Glover, we were disappointed when we found out he wasn't Miles.
Yes, because originally I did not know about this.
Yeah, neither did I.
But luckily, I'll go ahead and give a shout out here. Our buddies down at 4-Color Fantasy.
Yep, good people.
I was talking to them, and they are the ones that actually gave me this information. That is Aaron Davis. Or
Aaron Davis.
Yeah, okay. Thought I messed
Looking at his skill set that he has, he's a master thief, Olympic-level athlete, expert acrobat, expert martial artist, and an expert marksman. I can't talk either.
Yeah,
apparently.
so the story...
Donald Glover's perfect for that. It's going to be great if he ever puts on the Deadpool-like suit.
The story, from what I recall, just briefly kind of skimming through here, I believe he... Like how Miles gets his powers anyways. So he steals from Oscorp, and one of the genetically enhanced spiders that they're working on, maybe it's not even Oscorp, but I'm pretty sure Oscorp has always been the one that works. So he steals that, and like one of the spiders crawls into his bag, and then when he goes, and I'm assuming I guess around Miles, the spider crawls out of the bag and bites Miles, and that's how Miles gets his powers. So, and there's no real character motivation for Miles to actually be a hero. He just kind of got the powers, kind of situation.
And that, I feel, kind of leads to one of my issues with Spider-Man Homecoming, and that's the way they wrote Peter. Because he didn't feel like Peter Parker, at least to me.
They made him really happy-go-lucky, so this is kind of the negative angle. He
felt like Miles more than Peter. However, he had Peter's quick wit.
But they did. I mean, he does joke around a lot. But at the same time, he took things seriously when it came to the villains and everything. He wasn't such
to a point.
But to certain villains, like when it came time to be serious,
when it came to Vulture, he took it serious.
I'm saying in the comics and everything.
Oh, in the comics.
No, this is how Spider-Man is. The movie was pretty much happy-go-lucky for a good bit of the film. Until
arguably my favorite scene, which was, of course, it hardens back to one line. In general, Tony tells Peter, if you don't think you can do it without the suit, you don't deserve the suit. And he's under a bunch of
That was kind of a real wake-up call to where he actually... Finally, the film he's not so happy-go-lucky anymore.
He's not a kid anymore. He's a superhero.
Let me say this. They don't show Uncle Ben, obviously. We already know the origins and everything. However, it being year and a half later, he does seem really happy-go-lucky for having lost his uncle. Yeah. Early in the film, that is. But they do make that nod that they've been through some stuff, because when his friend finds out, he's like,
Don't tell Aunt May.
Don't tell Aunt May, she's been through enough.
Yeah, they make a lot of nods to the origin.
There's the nod, but the reason why I'm bringing up Uncle Ben in the midst of this statement is simply because that particular Iron Man statement and his role in this film, them taking out Uncle Ben, he really is
he's very Uncle Ben.
He's kind of Uncle Ben without actually dying in the film. Like he's just that wake up call for Peter. So maybe he didn't actually have that wake up call when Uncle Ben died. Maybe he wasn't Spider-Man when that happened, possibly.
Well, and it could have happened when he was even younger in this.
Which is what I'm saying. Like, so it wasn't fully what drove him to be a hero, but Iron Man kind of pulled that mentor, that real motivation to actually be a hero.
Because in the scene,
so that works. That worked for me. I'm not too worried about Uncle Ben.
And I want to bring up this scene because it's literally the best scene in the whole movie, in my opinion. He's trapped under rubble and he's screaming for help, and that line goes through his head again. And it's kind of like almost, it's like, okay, wait, I've got superhuman strength. I'm going to do this now. I'm a superhero. And he pushes all the rubble off of him and is freed that way. So it's kind of the first point we really get of the powers that the the radioactive spider gave him. Because throughout the movie, we don't see a lot.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that you say that was good.
I liked it. I thought it was the point where he became a hero.
Okay, well, let me go from my point of view.
What's yours?
So from my point of view, I agree that was a real motivational aspect. But at the same time, if you think about it, a piece of the freaking airport when they were there, like a part of the building, he straight up caught that back in Civil War. And so he knew his powers then.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I'd forgotten
that happened prior to his standalone film. So if he can catch part of a building nonchalant, like just perfectly fine back then, right then and there, when he got pinned under
it took him the motivation to push himself.
The fact that he was begging for help, I'm just like, you're an idiot because you already can do this, and you know that you can do this because you did it in the past.
That's a good point. I didn't remember that at all. So you make a very good point there.
That scene really irritated me because they really... Let me go with what irritated me.
The movie drives home that fact that he doesn't know how to be a superhero.
That's what I was just going to say.
That is exactly what the movie drives.
They really undermine him. Like, they really push the fact that he is a freaking child.
Yeah.
Like, he is a kid.
And
he
Tony
doesn't know what he's
says it
doing.
3 different times. He calls him a kid.
Really, again, we've already assessed that this is spoilers, and we've already kind of given some spoilers, but here's another one that's really big. But at the very end, he doesn't actually beat the bad guy. He does not beat Vulture by himself.
That's true.
At all.
Yeah,
the plane crashes, it ruins his suit. Then Vulture tries to steal stuff while his suit is damaged. His suit then blows up, and then Spider-Man saves him and stops him from dying.
Yep.
And then ropes him up like with the webs and everything. And
he does
like,
classic Spider-Man.
Hey, I found the Vulture guy, and it's just like, yeah, you found him, but you didn't actually beat him because any other time you had conflict with him, he was handing your ass. So they really push that he can't handle himself.
And from the sounds of things,
on top of that, when Shocker was really undermined in the film, and that's fine, I don't care, but point is, Shocker is in the film as well, and he doesn't even beat Shocker by himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he didn't have his web shooters on at the time, and his friend shows up, uses the web shooter, and stops Shocker. His friend that has no powers. So they really just undermined him in the film, in my opinion. Everybody says that this is the best Spider-Man film.
No, personally, I think.
And personally, it is a really good film, and I do think that this is a good step. They're working towards a better Spider-Man than what the past 2 attempts that we have seen. Don't get me wrong. But at least in the past 2 attempts, you have actually seen Peter Parker, Spider-Man. You've seen him. Yes, he had that cocky arrogance in the beginning, but then he got his ass handed to him too when he was against villains, but he persevered and did it on his own. He didn't beg for help. He didn't actually have somebody stop a villain for him, other than I think Gwen Stacy helped him with one in the second movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, my point is the first movie you're introduced to, he handled that on his own. Like basically it was his origins. Like he wasn't such a pushover, if you will.
Now let me play devil's advocate here.
And I get that he's a kid, and that's why you want him to be that dumbed down and incapable of. Basically, you're trying to make him seem that he's not a complete badass, if you will. Like he's going to go out there and stop everybody. I get that because that will come with him getting that experience, and then he'll start actually being able to stop them on his own. But I feel like that you should have at least made him be able to do something, because really the way that I get out of his character development, this is a really good analysis for the future of the MCU here. And so how I get out of the film, because we know that somebody's going to die come Infinity War in Avengers 4. Somebody's dying in there. Mm-hmm. And I was saying this to you when we went to see the movie.
Yeah,
that
when we came out of it.
When we came out of seeing that film, my assessment of who's most likely to die now, originally, I was thinking Hawkeye or something. But my most likely to die now, because the inexperience level, if you throw Spider-Man in there, he's going to die instantly. Like, he's just... Unless he gets lucky and gets like hidden under rubble or something for a while, and somebody forgets about him. But like,
which I mean might totally happen.
Yeah, but the only thing that gave me hope that makes sense for him to live through Infinity War and everything to get to his sequel that he's supposed to have. Mm-hmm. The only thing that gave me hope that he wouldn't die in Infinity War is the fact that the iron suit is shown off.
Yes, they did show the new look Iron Spider.
Yeah, it's not the full Iron Spider that you're used to.
Iron Spider,
but I kind of like that it doesn't have the claws.
I love
to an extent. Yeah, we might still get that, but I sort of feel like Thanos would probably just break them off or something if we did get that.
I hope we do get it, but it's kind of like he presses the emblem on his chest and it comes out.
Sort of like the emblem on his chest comes off and it's its own like drone.
And it's a drone.
I think that would be something that is kind of like built in the suit.
I'd be
comes
down.
Out. So it's not out all the time.
Like yeah, that makes the most sense.
That would be good. I would like that. So that's what gives me hope for the future of Spider-Man going into Infinity War is the fact that we did get that teaser of the suit.
Now, before we get to the positives of this movie, I want to ask you one thing. How would you feel, and this is from what I've at least seen, Tom Holland wants Captain America in the sequel. How do you feel about that? Because that to me makes it just seem like another team-up where he's going to have to be saved.
You know, the thing is
especially since it's Cap.
Prior to that information, I actually didn't know that, but prior to that information, I did know that Chris Evans had said in an interview that he would like to see Cap team up with Spider-Man in the future.
Looks like we might see it.
So now that
after Avengers 4.
Now that Tom Holland is saying the exact same thing, I feel like everybody's on the same page here, which makes it seem like that's kind of greenlit, kind of.
Oh, wait a minute.
And they did.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, they're not going to do it. Never mind. I got really excited because Spider-Man and Cap being in the same movie means that maybe Punisher was the antagonist. That's the death of Cap.
They could have Punisher in there briefly to have the death of Cap.
I would hope. That would be awesome. That's the only saving grace for that.
You know what?
That would be
I'll roll with what you just said.
That would be cool.
Because Cap was put in a lot of aspects of this film.
In comedic fashion.
In comedic fashion. He wasn't actually there.
A lot of video games.
But the thing is, if they did do that team up, if they don't kill Chris Evans, even though he should be dying in Infinity War, the rumor is that he.
Let's go, Sebastian. Give us.
Which actually could still happen. He could still die in Infinity War, and then the new Cap could team up with
Bucky or whomever takes the mantle.
But we'll roll with he doesn't die in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
roll with what we think could happen.
Since his contract is expiring, I sort of feel like he would probably be willing to do that extra film nonetheless. Like, as in go to the next Spider-Man sequel. And if they did run with the whole Punisher thing, then that movie could be the death of Cap. And the reason why, actually, that would probably help his film because if you ran with it that way, Cap wouldn't be the one saving him.
Yeah, Spidey's the one saving him. Well, technically he saves Spidey, but then... Yeah.
Let's roll in order. If that's the way that it plans out, which let's hope to God that's the case.
That would be great. Definitely, Cap would be awesome.
All speculation here. Let's roll with what happened in the first film. The first film was the build-up of the mentorship of Iron Man to Spider-Man, making him realize how to be a hero and everything. So that transpired. We see that.
Hero 101.
But he didn't actually persevere on his own. It just was coincidence kind of deal. So, but he still mentally kind of built that.
He built the inner strength of, okay, I'm a hero now.
Yeah. So that was a good build-up for the first movie. So if you want to do that, cool. Second movie, it is definite that there is going to be an Avenger in that film. It's already definite. And the fact that Chris Evans and Tom Holland have now talked about it.
Cap.
I'd say it's pretty much 99% sure that Cap is going to be the guy.
99%.
Yeah, we were wrong the first time, but we were close. It was still relative.
We were close.
So I think we're going to be close here. Cap will be in the film. We won't say which one.
Yeah.
Cap will be in the film. So we can roll with that. If Cap dies from Punisher or something like that, that would be great because then that means that Spider-Man has to do his own thing. He has no choice but to stop the villain on his own because Cap died. He's on his own. That is no other option. And that allows him to grow up. He won't be a kid. he actually pulled it off on his own, and then we can actually start looking to him like the hero that he deserves to be. Which then would set him up perfectly for the third film. Then he wouldn't need anybody else in the film. He could do that as a solo film.
And then Sinister Six. And then that's actually a perfect build to Sinister Six, where he's taking on 6 different villains at a time. So
yeah,
that actually would work. There you go, Sony. Now,
slash Marvel.
Let me bring up my biggest issue with the movie because I didn't get to touch on this, and this is, I don't know if anybody else felt like this. You said you felt a little bit like this. It didn't feel like a Marvel movie entirely. Like, there were points in that movie where, yeah, it felt like a Marvel movie. It felt like a normal, big superhero Marvel movie. But then for a good portion of that movie, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this isn't Marvel. This isn't what Marvel does.
I'm not going to lie, like, to some extent, I hate to say this because of him being basically the face of the MCU right now.
And that's what he is. And that seems to be what they're building him to.
But the thing is the only time that I really felt like it was a Marvel film
was when Tony was there?
Was when Iron Man was there.
That was the exact thing I had. It felt like a Marvel movie when Marvel characters were there.
Every time that it was just Spider-Man, it felt like it was just another Sony movie, like another Sony reboot kind of deal.
I don't know if anyone else had that feeling.
But not entirely.
It wasn't entirely.
But I get what you were saying. I mean, it
didn't come off like the big bombastic Marvel movies we're used to.
Well, that's because if you think about it, all the Marvel superheroes that have been introduced so far, they got their standalone film. Well, other than Black Panther, but he got introduced in a way that made sense.
Yeah,
we got a little bit of
Spidey.
He was good. So Black Panther was introduced in a good way with having not had his own film. Yeah. But typically, they got their own film and they actually persevered through their own problems on their own in order to be a hero. Whereas they pushed it so hard to make sure that people knew that it was part of the MCU and not another Sony product that they had to put Iron Man in there. And the fact that they heavily did that, again, makes sense for the child aspect of growing up and
giving him that mentor to look up to.
But at the same time, you push that so heavily that really the only aspects of being a character that was developed to its full potential was Tony as Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because the other aspects was he never... Let me actually say it this way. Let me kind of reset my wording here. The best way to describe the film is, yes, it's a good film.
It is a good movie.
It does set up sets up nicely to see the progression of Peter in the future. However, I'd say the first film really could be like a two-parter kind of deal. Because the first film really feels like it really wasn't completed.
I can agree
That's the best wording that I can come with.
I could agree with that.
Because the fact that, in my mind, just hear me out for a second. In my mind, when I see a superhero movie, they persevere on their own, like I was saying earlier.
Wonder Woman.
And the fact that Tony was there as Iron Man, even though he didn't actually stop the villain, like he didn't show up to help him, so that's fine. Yeah. He wasn't like heavily present like they thought, like they made it show in the trailer. So don't get me wrong, he's not heavily in there.
Yeah.
But he just. I feel like the fact that he didn't persevere and actually beat the villain on his own, the movie wasn't complete. Therefore, it leaves it kind of open-ended, meaning that, in my mind, Spider-Man is not complete in this universe until he actually grows up. Not literally grows up as 5 years from now. I mean,
mentally grows up and becomes the superhero that everyone knows him.
Till the day that I actually see him actually beat somebody on his own.
Until we see him take out a Kraven the Hunter or Scorpion, who, spoiler alert, shows up in a post-credit scene. Scorpion's the guy who was talking to Vulture in the prison.
Oh, so he becomes Scorpion?
Yes, the guy that was talking to Vulture.
And then he knows a guy on top of that. So he's Scorpion, plus he knows a guy that's outside the prison.
I assume possibly.
So he's possibly another two-villain movie?
Possibly.
But it seems more relevant that both villains will be relevant?
And I don't know exactly what villain they would think about. I did see a thing about a possible Kraven, but I don't know if that's at all a thought process right now. But
that kind of could make sense if we roll with how the movie runs. because Vulture's group and Scorpion was a part of Vulture's group that got taken out on the boat. And then he's like, you want to take out that kid? I heard you know his identity, but I know a guy on the outside. So the fact that they're hunting
hunting down Adam Craven.
So
yeah. I could
from
see
my point of view, now that I thought it out, I feel like that could be an Easter egg that it could be Craven.
I could see it almost like a bounty on his head kind of situation, and Craven's going after the bounty. I could see it like that.
Putting it with the bounty aspect, that backs up Punisher showing up in the film.
Yeah, exactly. I think you could do it either way, and Punisher personally.
And actually,
it would be a great way to bring in the Netflix series. Yep. I think it fits as the perfect way. You don't have to give Punisher a lot of screen time. You can give him. It could
literally be showing up to him shoot Cap, and that could be the end of it.
Like, give us a shot of him looking down the scope.
You don't even have to actually show him. You could get like a.
That's it.
You could get like.
I just think the shot would look good.
What the fuck? One of the doubles. You could get the.
Just a stunt double.
Yeah, stunt double. You don't even have to have. You don't just have to show his face. Just show like the shirt that has the Punisher
Well, that's what I'm saying. Show like you
whatever.
Could show from like here down with him looking down the scope,
and just show the shot,
and then him cocking the gun.
Or the bullet just comes out of nowhere, and then it goes over and shows the guy like wrapping up the gun.
Yeah,
but it doesn't show his face.
Yeah, it shows the shot be fired. It shows Cap push Spidey out of the way, take the shot, and then just Punisher walking out of wherever he shot him. That's a possibility.
That would actually be. Honestly, that would be.
But I think if they're gonna move the Netflix series over, Punisher's the perfect way to start, and
then we could get what we wanted from Civil War and everything.
The death.
Honestly,
and
this theory really makes me stoked for the second one.
Not to mention they have kind of talked about, not really talked about it, but kind of mentioned Punisher before. Of course, when what is it?
In the Winter Soldier, the Penske
truck. When he gets hit by the truck, there was the whole
truck,
things that was
when the whole Nick Fury chase kind of deal. So he was that was Frank Castle. That's already been a thing. Kind of rolling with this whole Netflix and kind of crossover. Do we still want to talk some more about the Spider-Man Homecoming?
I mean, we can talk about the good things in it because we kind of just been negative this whole time.
I've been saying the negative out of the positive. I've been doing
before we finish, because we do have to rate it anyways, I want to talk about my favorite thing, and that was Michael Keaton as Vulture. I love Michael Keaton in general. It doesn't matter what he plays for the most part. The dude is amazing, whether it be a Birdman, a Batman, or a metal Birdman and Vulture. I mean, either way, Michael Keaton's awesome. And he did something so good in this movie, and that was the fact that he played the character almost in, I don't want to say it a Batman way, but he played it in probably the smartest way you can play an older villain. Because Vulture, for the most part in the comics, is kind of senile. He's not really that senile, but he's very old. The suit's what's keeping him going.
What I really like, though, is that he was just like a thief kind of deal, too. Yeah. So he was thinking, like, he was trying, he didn't like doing things that were risky. Like, he did try to think ahead and plan things out. Whereas a lot of villains that we've kind of seen in the past, like, let's reference The Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Okay.
He tries to turn the whole city into lizards. Yeah. Like, that's his goal.
Yeah, that's a pretty big plan.
So...
That's a massive idea to
whereas Vulture is literally just trying to steal stuff. He's trying to make a living kind of deal.
Well,
it's more down to earth feeling.
He even points out right at the end when he's talking to Peter, and he says it before he's talking to Peter. He says it to his own crew. That's just them trying to get by. That's them making a payday. It's not like they're a criminal syndicate. They're just petty theft, but to a bigger level.
Yeah, which honestly, if you think about it too, story-wise, like the fact that they ran with that with Vulture, that actually is a good start.
Mm-hmm. It's just like most heroes, they start with petty theft and work their way up.
Which is good because the way that they set it up with Scorpion, I feel like in the fact that it seems like it's just going to literally, their goal is to hunt down Spider-Man. So that is actually a good, nice setup. into the second film there.
And one more thing to touch on Michael Keaton before we can hop on, rate it, and move on.
There actually is a couple other things that I
you can go ahead and bring that up. But another thing I really liked about Michael Keaton is that how human they made his character and how relatable his villain actually was. There's a point in the movie, I feel, where the audience, if it's older, will try and root for him more than Spidey. Because you look at the reason he does things, and we said it's his family, it's to make a payday, it's to make sure his family's doing well.
There's still no reason to kill people. Granted, he does only kill one person that actually shows, but he keeps threatening it.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But, like, but
overall, he seems
a good guy for the most part.
He does seem to be a good guy, because when Scorpion, in the post-credit scene...
Yeah, and for saving his life,
he does for his identity.
Spidey solid.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know.
No, he says, if I knew his identity, he'd be dead already.
Yeah, so he
So he saves Peter because he finds... This is a huge spoiler. He does find out Peter is Spidey by the most Batman way possible, just figuring out while he's driving. And it's absolutely great. And then he threatens him with a handgun without pointing it at him.
Yeah.
And then just absolutely wonderful. Michael Keaton, best, in my opinion, Spider-Man villain we've seen yet.
Yeah, I think that it was done really nicely. What else I would like to bring up is a lot of people's other problems that they've had with the film. Probably not things that we've addressed. But
are you going to go to what happened at the end?
There's a couple things. So just we'll start with the one thing that I was originally a little skeptical about, and me and you talked about this in not the last one, but
a couple
podcasts ago, possibly. Who knows at this point?
Our memory with these podcasts are not great.
It was the first time that I ever brought a comic on as a reference, and that was to the whole Miles Morales situation. The best friend, and Peter never had that kind of friend. So I was a little skeptical on that situation. However, the film still felt fine from that angle. I don't have any complaints on that. I don't know if anybody else does. I was a little skeptical. I didn't have complaints really in the beginning, like maybe a little. But that was more or less worries.
You really grow to like, what's his name, Ned?
Yeah.
I believe is his name. You really grow to like him.
It was more or less, I was concerned if I did express any like doubts. It was more or less, I was just concerned how that would portray. But I think that the film did really nicely with it. So I have no complaints there. So hopefully nobody else does either. But
I mean, he's a real likable character. And turns out into a guy that I feel like most people, when they're watching, if you're like us and you're a little on the nerdy side, we're not going to hide that. But you sit there and you're like, yeah, that's the friend I had. That's a guy I would hang out with. Yeah,
it was really... It was made it more relatable to a high school situation.
It was much... It was so the younger...
I get the fact that since they didn't want to run with the Osborns right now, I get them adding in that friend, even though that's not typical for Peter Parker. It
got many.
I still get it for the story aspect, so there's no complaint there. Another thing that I do understand about what they did, and I do like the pair up, is something that most people probably do not like.
We have not seen how the internet has reacted to this. So I know early on they didn't like it.
I know early on we were both saying that we were like, it's not okay, they need to be a redhead.
Well, yeah, all we wanted was red hair.
But it wasn't... When it comes to the film, though, I think that I'm probably going to be one of the few that says this, and possibly get some hate, but I really don't mind it. I think that the role fits so well.
And if you don't know who he's talking about,
we're talking about Michelle.
Yes, Zendaya's character.
Which, you're like, why? Why Michelle if you haven't seen the film? Which, if you haven't seen this film, I don't know why you're watching this because we said spoilers.
Yeah.
But
we wanted
anyways, Michelle in the film, at the very end, she's just like, people usually call me MJ.
So it's their way of dancing around the fact that Mary Jane isn't in the movie. As the
basically, what it comes down to is Mary Jane isn't actually in the universe.
Nope.
That is not really MJ. What it is it's the Marvel's rewritten version. She will be representing what MJ is to Spider-Man, but she's not actually MJ. And that is perfectly fine, because then you don't really... mess up her story at all.
And what's great is she's a totally different character than Mary
And
Jane.
I love that
she's a
totally
just like, different
character. She's so jokey.
And she's kind of a loner, too, which is entirely different than what Mary Jane was. She was the popular cheerleader type.
Yes, and she fits in with the group really well. Like, she basically is kind of their friend, even though she doesn't admit it.
Once again, it's one of those type of things where you're sitting there, at least for me, it's like, I'd hang out with that person. That's a person I'd hang with.
Yeah, I really like it. So
yeah, you were saying you really like the connection between Michelle and Peter.
I can see them in the future, like being a couple in the movies and everything.
And it totally will be.
And
I don't know how long that'll take.
Obviously, will be since they hinted it. That's representing MJ in this take.
We don't know if there'll be a Gwen Stacy yet. But
I really like it. Like no complaints whatsoever. Not even a smidge.
I do like that they fought the MJ thing by naming her Michelle and then bringing up my friends call me MJ. And they do have a nice comedic line afterwards where Ned says, "But you don't have any friends." And she's like, "Yeah."
So it literally was just a quick nod to show what she represents in this universe.
It was a nice little quip there at the end of the movie.
I like that too.
Anything else you got to touch on?
The only thing else that I really didn't like in the film, since we're comparing characters, I mean, I liked her character, so let's not say I didn't like. Something else, though, entirely different subject, that I did not like, character-wise, was Flash.
I don't know much about Flash Thompson, so I didn't have a lot of room to
a lot of people that are blowing up.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like the fact that he's not white.
Which, I will not lie.
I mean, I've got no...
I was partly on that, but I don't care.
Yeah, ethnicity...
That is not what made me not like him.
You said ethnicity wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. If you want to cast somebody else, it makes sense if you think about it. See, go ahead and explain what you explained to me earlier, because what they said when they made the film, they were trying to make it more...
Yeah. Amy, whatever, we always forget her last name.
Pascal.
Thank you, finally. You remember, and I forgot this time. But Amy Pascal was doing an interview. This was before Spider-Man launched. And she was doing an interview, and she was asked why Flash wasn't white. And, Spidey, of course, Peter is in school in Brooklyn. That's, majority-wise, would be a black school, I would assume. I do not know this.
It's more ethnic.
Yeah.
Like more ethnic groups. Let's say that.
They added more ethnic groups into that movie to try and give you that,
and it makes
ethnically diverse school.
It makes it more realistic, and again, there's no complaints about any aspects of that. I think that makes perfect sense. It really fits the film. I really like all the different characters. And I like I said, the new take for MJ and everything. It all really blends together really nicely.
I just want to say one thing first. I just remembered, it's a special school. It's not like a public school. So I take that comment back, actually, of the majority would be black. I take that back because I forgot it's a private institute. It's like a science school. Did you not notice that?
Well, I know that it's it had a NASA kind of thing.
Yeah, it was a special school. It wasn't a public school.
Anybody and everybody could go into that.
Well, yeah, I figure it was. I figure it was
honestly.
So I wasn't
actually, if you think about it, with
diversity would be there.
If you think about it, with her comment though, with it being in that area, if it's the fact that it is a special school, you could think that people could fly there to specifically go to that school.
Yeah,
possibly.
That's what I was. Thinking it makes a little more sense.
Which that within itself would make it more diverse. Mm-hmm. So that would be why, because people could fly in from wherever, and then
There's still been a lot of backlash though about Flash.
So that would be
now
the
you said you just don't like the actor.
Yeah, the actor does not fit the role, in my opinion. I mean, sure, he made his witty dick remarks, whatever. Mm. Dickish remarks, whatever. I mean,
yeah, he was trying to be a bully.
You could get that where they were trying to push his character, but at the same time, it just really did not fit for me. It did not give me the full vibe that where you get when you see the first Flash that we've seen on film was in the Amazing Spider-Man.
2 was it 1 or 2?
He was in the first.
It was 1. I don't remember those movies very well.
he actually comes off like a dick very nicely because they get in a fight nearly in the beginning of the film. This Flash, he just kind of bickers and makes crappy remarks at Peter. He doesn't actually get in a fight with him.
Fun joke he makes is Penis Parker.
Yeah, it's just he's more of a verbal dick.
Yeah.
Not an abusive dick.
He's that bully. He's that bully in your high school that doesn't punch you. He just like calls you names. That's kind of the best.
Which in some sense, if you think about it, though, is a lot of people that are like that too. They actually do like you. They just don't admit it, kind of deal.
Well, that's what they normally
like the more
say.
Verbal
that's what they normally say with guys and girls that are like messing with each other like that.
Okay, that's not what I meant.
I know what you meant.
I meant like
I'm just saying that's normally what they say about that.
But whereas if somebody's like straight up just like he's a bully to like everybody, and he'll like straight up like punch you for just pissing him off, pissing him off. That is what fits the role better. So maybe it wasn't quite the actor. Maybe it was more or less the script that they wrote.
Yeah, the way they wrote his character.
So maybe I'll give credit to the actor. I won't diss him.
I've seen him in stuff before.
I think what I'll say
is
the script that they wrote for Flash, it just made him unnecessary to be in the film. Let's put it that way.
At least it gave a really good scene where Spidey steals his car. He commandeers his car and then can't drive.
I'll be interested to see if they reference that when
I
it comes to the second
hope
film.
They do. I really hope they do. But let's give it a grade. If you don't got anything else to talk about.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I think that I can.
So let's give it a grade, and let's
other than Aunt May.
Oh, Aunt May. Well, it's the same thing. What they did with Aunt May, she's attractive. We know this.
I don't have any complaints about her age. I won't say anything
I'm
about
not going to whine about that. It's the fact.
She finds out he's Spider-Man at the end of the film.
With a nice, what the, cut to credits. But it's just the one thing they did to try and, I feel like they got some backlash for her being very attractive. So
I don't know, because from what I've heard, everybody likes the younger version of Aunt May.
Well, I'm guessing they had to get something.
So...
Unless
I do get what you're saying, because they made her like wear glasses and they really
accentuated her wrinkles.
Yeah,
with makeup.
Whereas in Civil War, she looked definite, like fully, like she looked really young. She didn't have any wrinkles, and she wasn't wearing glasses. I'm pretty positive.
It was just totally if you get my drift.
Like Tony freaking hit on her. God.
Yeah. So
I mean that's the show.
They tried to age her, and personally, I didn't like that because if you're gonna stick with her being extremely attractive, let her be attractive.
And I mean, I'm still holding out hope that she could possibly be a former Shield agent.
You want that to be true so bad. You want it so bad.
I think that it would just be an interesting twist. I think there would be interesting aspects.
It would be a nice plot twist.
Because you think about it, Aunt May and then Spider-Man could team up. That could be the third film.
Maybe it will be.
Actually, that could be what associates him with Cap. Maybe she actually knows Cap.
Maybe.
Wow.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Look at that. I'm figuring out the future, but nobody's going to ever take my ideas because, I mean, nobody ever listens to what my great ideas are.
That's right.
I mean, nobody ever listens to great ideas that we have about DC either. It's just a sad day everywhere.
I'm just saying, DC, if you're listening,
I'm
writing it.
Anyways, so Aunt May, I mean, it is cool.
Let's go ahead and rate this, and let's rate it. What are we using? We use Baby Groots and Godslayers. What's this one? Iron Spiders? Web Shooters?
Web Shooters.
That's what I originally thought we would. So, out of 10 Web Shooters, what do you give it? I had a tough time exactly placing it. But I feel okay with my placement. I want to hear yours, though. Because yours kind of has more impact than mine, in my opinion.
I want to hear yours.
I give it...
I'm not 100% sure.
I give it a solid 7. 7 Web Shooters out of 10. 1, because it gets that high of a rating solely because I could have gone lower, but Michael Keaton's performance, the fact that it is the best Spider-Man movie we've gotten so far, and the fact that Tom Holland fits Peter Parker, the character Peter Parker, extremely well with his sense of humor.
The way that I'm thinking about it is we gave, I believe, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we gave that an 8.5, I think.
We did.
And I gave that I think you gave it an 8 and I gave it an 8.5 or somewhere. We agreed.
I'm guessing we both gave it an 8.5 or close to it if we averaged out to that.
So, and the reason why that was, the reason why that was considerably high, if you will, was because we gave credit to the fact at the end of the film, it wasn't so much of the comedic jokes anymore and stuff like that. Basically, it started off
that movie good.
It started off kind of poor because they were trying too heavily to make it a comedy. But overall, in the end, it actually fit the characters.
I will say I could go back and re-rate that movie.
So from the aspect of what we rated that and the fact that we viewed more or less the better part, the fact that it did improve and it didn't stay to that poor part, so we didn't damper the rating that poorly because of that. So I will do the same here, and due to the fact of I will not let the negative parts weigh down because the positive, because the positives are Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Tom Holland is Peter Parker.
Michael Keaton's Vulture. Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man.
I didn't really calculate him much because...
Yeah, he really wasn't much.
If we're going to do that, Jon Favreau's in my pluses because I love Jon Favreau.
No, but the main hero, the main villain, really they both fit the roles that they played.
Oh, they did such a
really
good job.
Carried the film. The whole a lot of things towards the end of the film really made my day, and here's what I'll say. Yes, the Iron Spider helped me out.
Was good.
That was nice.
I would have rather color scheme been different.
I'm going to be really freaking random here because I'm probably the only one that really got so stoked about this because I know you said that you don't really care. But when Pepper came out behind the door, I was just like, yes! Where has she been all this time? Like, they finally brought her back to the big screen.
I did like the reference all the way back to when Iron Man came out. The fact that Jon Favreau directed that movie and he had the ring in his pocket since 2008. I literally held it in from bawling and just laughing my ass out of that theater. So good.
I loved it.
Good.
I love that she showed up again because
that was good.
Because I like it because, I mean, a lot of the time, or what we've seen from these universes, that they kind of write people off because the contracts expire and they never come back. So the fact that they were able to get her back after her contract had expired like a while back ago and she hadn't showed up in the films and they just made nods to her, like as in Avengers Age of Ultron, they just made a nod, she didn't make an appearance. And so I love that she's back now. I don't know if it was just for this one-time thing, but even if it was, they're clearly back together because in the last film they talked about they were not seeing each other anymore. So they're engaged now. Is what it hints at happening.
Had this ring since
we don't know whether she said yes or not, but we'll just say she's engaged.
I would assume so.
So that really made the film for me. So I feel like there's so many parts that I just kind of like geeked out over that I really probably shouldn't have, but it just I don't know.
I'm sure you weren't the only one. I'm sure there's a number of people that loved seeing Pepper back.
I'm going to go ahead and give it, I'll probably say the same thing as Guardians of the Galaxy, 8.5.
8.5. So let me do my math here. That would probably be about a 7 3/4. If my average is right. Because we'll split your half.
You just say 8.
No, it's 7.5. Or, I'm sorry, 7.75.
Yeah.
So, 7.75 web shooters. Because we used quarters in Wonder Woman with 9.25 Godslayers. So, 7.75 web shooters for Spider-Man Homecoming.
Which I think fits it because, honestly, if you think about overall for the film, as far as since I was trying to relate it to Volume 2 for Guardians of the Galaxy, no offense to Spider-Man film, and I Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, so let me clarify this.
Yeah, look at
before
gear.
Anybody gives some backlash, which I'm sure we still would give backlash.
Oh, I'm sure we've already gotten it.
I still feel Marvel can do better because there was the fact that he didn't actually persevere on his own. So the fact that the rating scales here, that Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy is better than Homecoming, I stand heavy to that. This really lines up nicely. So,
and once again, I will say it's not a bad movie. In my opinion, all other Spider-Man movies are much inferior to this.
So far, I think the best Marvel film to come out this year, though, was Logan. Logan did come out earlier this year, right?
Yeah, March.
Yeah. Logan was the best Marvel film to come out this year so far.
Yeah, if we're talking just Marvel in general, not MCU.
Marvel in general, not MCU.
But I fully agree with that. I fully agree.
I sort of feel like the best MCU film for this year is going to probably end up being Thor Ragnarok.
I'm hoping Infinity War.
Infinity War.
That's next year. Oh, I've lost positioning where all these movies are because I've been
Marvel comes up with one big movie each year. Guardians of the Galaxy was this year, so that's considered one of their because it. Okay, let me say multi-charactered.
Okay.
Like grand scale kind of deal.
Okay.
So let me rephrase that. Their bigger movie. Like a lot of
they're
characters.
They're team-ups. They're huge team-ups.
There we go.
Or is there one big movie a year?
That usually falls around May timeframe, so we'll get Infinity War around May next year.
Okay. See, probably the big one, if it lives up to the hype of the trailer, Thor Ragnarok will probably be the best MCU movie. DC, you're not beating Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
You're not.
Justice League will not beat Wonder Woman.
Unless Matt Reeves somehow gets him going on the Batman real quick and gets that out in 2018, which it won't happen. Nothing very soon is going to beat Wonder Woman.
But anyways, now that we've ranked kind of the movies for this year for comic book stuff, we will go ahead and back into
a little bit of news.
The tie-ins that we were kind of talking about for...
a little bit of news.
Excuse me, the aspects that we're talking about, the Netflix crossing over to the movies when we were talking about the Punisher and everything.
This is
really good.
This is interesting.
So I want to say I actually have a whole spiel about this. So
oh god,
let me just pull some stuff up. Okay, so I'm going to go off and say that, and we
sit back and relax.
I'd say a good percentage of our guesses here on Casual Comcast, we are over 50% correct. I don't know the exact percent.
I don't know the percentage.
But it is over 50%. The majority of the time we have been correct.
Hopefully.
About some stuff.
Is there any name on?
So the thing is Defenders Season 1's coming out. I don't know if any of you have ever watched any of our past podcasts, but if you actually look into it, or listen to our past podcasts, I should say as well.
Whatever.
If you look into it, I also talked about the Defenders earlier, about they could be introducing vampires because the Hand has been dealing, like they've been draining people of blood, so the Hand is kind of introducing vampires.
And
so,
who fights vampires?
Blade, which we talked about Blade then, that he could possibly be introduced through the Defenders. Now,
Snipes.
Guess what? I don't think that he'll show up in the Defenders series unless they make a quick nod to him, but he will not actually be there, I do not think, because of the fact that they've already been filming it and there's no real word.
Yeah, we would have gotten a rumor about that big time.
I would like to follow through with that statement.
With Defenders number 2.
Defenders number 2, the recent Defenders series that they are doing through comic books that just came out, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point in time. And you flip open the first page, you see Luke Cage is in the hospital, Jessica Jones is going to try to check on him. And then you go in to the very next page that you flip to.
He does
and
look so much like Wesley Snipes.
Guess who shows up to save, like with something to save Luke Cage?
Wesley
it's Blade.
Snipes.
Okay, whatever. Blade.
Just like Wesley Snipes' Blade, guys.
And it literally looks like Wesley Snipes.
It does. That close-up is even better. Oh, that's so good.
It gives us a nice nod that he could be coming to the Netflix series, as well as his very ending line before he leaves. He says, "Tell your husband he owes me again," and then he smiles and he leaves.
So that's a big question mark, and of course you thought that, of course, maybe that means season 2 of Luke Cage?
Yes, so that kind of gave me a little bit of speculation that we know season 2 of Luke Cage is coming, and the fact that Blade in this comic, and we've said both DC and Marvel, they are reflecting some things from comic and movie. Not entirely, like I said, not the whole story and everything, but they reflect some things.
It's a perfect thing to talk about. Aquaman with the hair has been coming to the comics now, and now possibly,
and then now Blade, possibly
Blade to Netflix.
And some interesting things. Those of you that don't maybe know much about what's Blade doing in the comics, the thing is he hasn't actually done anything in the past few years. And then the fact that it's new Defender series, they feel obligated to the very second issue. Put Blade in there.
Yes, that means something.
Yes, he leaves after like 2 pages of being in there. So it's just like kind of a what people call in movie versions cameo. So he makes a nice cameo in the comic. But the fact that he mentions that he basically knows Luke Cage from the past, it gives me a nice thing that I sort of feel like maybe season 2 of Luke Cage could cast a Blade and introduce him sort of the way that season 2 of Daredevil introduced Punisher to spin him off into his own series. I sort of feel like this could spin off Blade into his own.
If this were to happen, we were talking about this just a bit earlier, I'm a huge Wesley Snipes fan, so I want Wesley Snipes at some point in there. And we were talking about this, and I said the best way to do it, or I think you might have brought it up, have a younger Blade, or a younger character playing Blade, but of course Wesley Snipes just makes a nice little cameo.
Yeah.
And maybe a snarky remark of you're doing a pretty good job, but I know a guy who did better. Like something like that to an effect. And then he just smiles and it shows a fang or something like that. Kind of a reference to, he's the original Blade type of thing. Almost like what they did with Django and Django Unchained.
And
that I think would be nice.
I think another way that we could reference that Blade is coming sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
Or at least he will be eventually coming to Netflix.
I hope.
Because I'll give you another piece of facts that we've kind of been putting together. A lot of the time, Marvel has kind of leaked out some fake, like, pop vinyls or stuff that's kind of given nod to some stuff because we know the whole Giant Man, a.k.a. Ant-Man,
Giant Man went out before Civil War came out.
And that pop vinyl got released before Civil War, therefore spoiling what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. So here's some other spoilers that Marvel could have gave us. The Marvel Legends figure series that they release, you know how they always have a bigger figure that you can put together when you buy all the individual ones. Mm-hmm. So they're releasing a Defender set.
Okay.
So it has Daredevil, Jessica Jones,
Luke Cage.
I don't know fully the other ones, but
Iron Fist?
I sort of think, I'm pretty sure Blade was one of them. I think.
What is this?
Yes, Blade is featured in that lineup. Okay, so here's the lineup. It shows off Daredevil.
What is this, the Marvel Legends? So I'll just double check it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Marvel Legends. And it's featuring a focus on the Netflix shows, as I was saying.
Yep, I already saw it. I already saw it. It's showing off Daredevil, Jessica Jones, The Punisher, and of course Blade. Yep.
Therefore, it's referencing Blade is probably coming to the Netflix shows. On top of the fact, the big figure that you are able to create if you buy all of them is Man-Thing.
No, I don't know.
Now, I don't know what that means. That is not necessarily the case that we will be getting Man-Thing. But if this is true, that the toys that they release reflect to what they're doing in the future, it's possible we could get Man-Thing somewhere within the Netflix series or somewhere in Marvel sometime soon.
I would assume if they're doing this now, releasing these toys now, that's got to speak to the future of the Netflix series.
And there's so much going on with Blade now, with that whole the toy being released,
got it up here.
And then the new appearance in the comics, and it's through the Defenders. there's so much talk, and there's already been talk about Blade coming to Netflix prior.
Maybe we'll get a cameo in The Defenders.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe like last episode, we get like a tiny little cameo.
Yeah.
Just to hint at him.
So, I think that this is very interesting. So,
okay, now I just want to bring up, and this is only because we just talked about maybe a cameo in Defenders. The site that I just checked and saw the Blade figure at, they do bring up the show coming, the date it arrives on Netflix. So, just saying maybe, there is no, of course, Blade being talked about here.
I mean, if you think about it, honestly, he hasn't shown up in years in the comics. The comic he shows up is the Defenders. When they released the action figure lineup for the Defenders, Blade is a part of it. So, I think it's inevitable he will be coming to Netflix and crossing over with them at some point in time. But let's talk about possibly him being on film. Talk about being on the big screen.
Yep, I want it.
The director, I believe the director from Spider-Man Homecoming, when I was looking into another video on YouTube, and this particular person was talking about the director, or they were doing kind of like a review for Homecoming, and then they also said that the director has talked in the future he would like to do something with Blade and or Morbius.
And I don't know much about Morbius.
I don't know necessarily what you would do with Blade in a Spider-Man film, so I don't know if he meant for him to actually be in the film.
I mean, there is a possibility of a team up, but I don't know how you do that. I'm unsure if Blade's really teamed up with Spidey in the comics.
I don't know either. I can't recall anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, for some reason, I want to say that he has, but I'm entirely unsure.
I feel like everybody has kind of teamed up with everybody at some point, but it's just a matter of...
I mean, apparently now everybody's killing everybody in the universe, so...
But anyway, so he was talking about that. So I don't know if he meant that he wanted him to show up in something Spider-Man related, or if just he wanted a Blade film in general. But what really got me in that piece of information is Morbius, because that's a villain of Spider-Man that we haven't actually seen yet. So it is possible that he could be in one of the future movies, although it seems like the second movie is going to be having Scorpion in it and possibly one other guy. But then again, we don't know who that other guy is. We made speculation it could be Kraven the Hunter. I guess it could actually be Morbius possibly too. I mean, we don't know. We don't know the guy's connection. Who the hell does Scorpion know? Could be anybody.
I mean, I brought up, of course, Kraven, maybe Punisher because of the hit type of situation. But literally, he could know...
He could know the Sinister Six.
He could know Osborn. Who knows?
That is true, because Marvel does have Oscorp in there somewhere. Even though we haven't seen a building yet.
One thing that I'll bring up...
Or have we seen a building?
No, we haven't.
Okay,
but
good.
I will bring up the Tom Holland. There was an article where he was stating some stuff about... I didn't look into it too much, because I was skimming over stuff, looking to see if there was any new DC news for this week. But Tom Holland was doing an interview, and the picture they utilized, and this was talking about what could happen in the sequel, was, of course, everybody's favorite Joker-like Spider-Man villain, the Green Goblin, a.k.a. Norman Osborn.
The only thing, though, is I still feel like, because when they originally talked about the Osborns being in this version, they are in the MCU, they just made it seem like it wasn't going to happen until like maybe the third installment.
Yeah.
I still stand by that I don't think that it will happen until the third installment. Maybe they'll make him make an appearance in the second film, but he won't be the Green Goblin kind of deal.
I wouldn't expect a Green Goblin until the third.
Because I don't see Scorpion being associated with him. Because if you think about it, since he was working with Vulture, and the whole reason why they were doing what they were doing is because they hated the big guy, the big corporation, how they were getting paid and everything. So since Osborns obviously own Oscorp, he's in the whole...
He is the 1%.
You know, so I don't see Scorpion teaming up with Green Goblin.
Yeah, I don't see Osborn being... I see maybe a hint of Osborn in the sequel. However, I could see either solely Green Goblin or even possibly a glimpse of Hobgoblin alongside Green Goblin in the third one. Because eventually we've got to get both goblins. You need both of them. I don't know when we get them, but if they were to follow that track, I could see Green Goblin as a main villain in the third one.
You know, if you kind of think about it, I get that they already have stuff planned out for Infinity War and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but if the Osborns have already been introduced, and now the Spider-Man's been introduced, they could add more chaos to the situation and put him in.
I don't see that happening.
But I don't see it happening.
No.
But what they could do is they could show an Oscorp building in the midst of all the fights.
I would love to see an Oscorp building be destroyed.
Yeah.
That would be a fun thing to see, especially if it's caused by Spidey.
I did see a video, though, which I don't know if this will be the case, but I did see a video show a thumbnail of, like, they were talking about Infinity War and what's to come and, like, villains returning.
Mm-hmm.
And it showed Red Skull as well as a couple other people. Like, it showed Thanos, Red Skull, and one other person. I don't remember what the third person was on there. But, so I sort of feel like the whole thing of Thanos will bring back some people.
Yeah, the big name villains.
So I think we can see more than just Thanos and his followers. I think we can expect to see some other villains of some sort, whether it be past or whatever they decide to do.
Yeah, but I could
because
totally
they have
an
67
Oscorp
characters
reference.
apparently going in there, so somebody's doing something.
I could see an Oscorp reference in Infinity War, which could lead to something in the sequel. So, are you done with the Marvel news? Because I got a tiny bit of DC.
Yeah, I'm done with the Marvel news.
Okay, let's hop on to DC for just a bit. And all I got really is one thing to talk about. Well, two things to talk about. One, if you're going to San Diego Comic-Con, Hall H, Justice League. That's where Justice League stuff's going to be held, Hall H. Now, on to the other thing I got, and that is talk about my guy, the world's greatest detective, the
Jim
greatest. How dare you? No.
Gotham.
The billionaire playboy, Batman, Bruce Wayne, a.k.a. Batfleck. And he will be Batfleck for a while, according to Matt Reeves, and I'm happy about that. But Matt Reeves has stated, of course, that he wants a noir-style Batman, which is going to be great. We've, I believe, talked about that. If we haven't, well, it's going to be great, and we both kind of agree on that. But we're going to get that, and according to him, he's taking a lot of inspiration from Nolan and the Dark Knight trilogy.
Which is good, because that was a good trilogy.
Oh, it's amazing. That trilogy is the standard now for Batman films. So to know that he's taking kind of an inspiration from Nolan makes me think we're going to see not really full on what Nolan had planned, the gritty darkness that the Dark Knight gave us. But I've got a feeling we'll get a little bit of that mixed in with that almost like old 1950s film noir style detective movies.
Well, I mean, not to mention, we've already...
Which is going to bring the best out of Batman.
We've said this a couple times before, which we sort of think that we're getting it, based on what we are hearing, we're sort of thinking that we're getting it towards the beginning of the film or through flashback form of Batgirl.
Yeah.
But if you think about the fact that they're putting Killing Joke in here, it makes sense that they have this darker feel for everything anyways.
Yeah, if we're going to be getting from what they've given us with the information about Joss Whedon's Batgirl, if they're going to be giving us some type of Killing Joke aspect, I would also assume we're going to at least get, maybe not the Joker as the main villain, however much I would love that. Because as I am the lowest part of it, there's no one that seems to agree with me apparently on the internet. But I like Jared Leto's Joker and I want more of it. So if we're going to get the Joker, I would be ecstatic. Especially if we're going to play this noir-style Batman and pretty much make it a kind of, I don't want to say guessing game, but a criminal detection movie where he's literally trying to find out exactly what next step Joker might be trying to take. Which would pretty much be a whole mind game type of movie. It would almost
if you
be
wanted to do a
Saw.
mind game movie, I mean, I think that they could still, well, you could pull Riddler.
I would assume Riddler.
You could also actually kind of work with Scarecrow, too.
Mm-hmm. And we did, of course, hear the rumors that Matt Reeves would like Scarecrow as a possible villain. So that is a possibility we get that. As well as Matt Reeves has stated that he's been thinking of a trilogy. However, and this is the smart way to look at it, I think any fan of movies would agree with this. If you're going to do a trilogy, the first movie he's not like looking to the future. He knows the first movie has to be exceptional. It's the important one.
Of course, you can't have a bad film and then expect people to show up for 2 more.
No, and I think the biggest example of that's Batman vs. Superman. People just didn't take to that, and they were worried about anything coming the way of DC. Luckily, I think Wonder Woman's changed that perspective.
It seems a lot of people completely switched their aspects.
Yeah, their mindset.
Once they saw Wonder Woman.
And that's great. So if we can if the Batman can live up to what Matt Reeves seems to be wanting, and we can get that gritty, old school detective style Batman movie, and I think with Ben Affleck's Batman, it fits perfectly. We know he's grizzled and everything else, so he's going to be playing that greatest detective style of Batman, and we're going to be seeing a lot of just the thought process, probably a lot in the Batcave. If we're going to be getting that, if you can give us that almost, I don't want to say CSI type of, that CSI type of story where it's pretty much a crime investigation and we're getting to watch it play out with a bunch of twists and turns in it, that's a great way to introduce Batman and the one thing we really have never seen on film, and that's, of course, him being the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give us that may bring a whole new light not only to people who may not like Batman.
That could actually come into play with the aspect that there was rumored that Penguin could also be a possible choice. That could come into play because you could view it as maybe he doesn't know who Penguin is or something.
Yeah, he doesn't know who Cobblepot.
Like he doesn't know.
To a point.
I guess what he's capable of, kind of thing. Like maybe because we talked about maybe they fight through a corporate aspect.
Yeah,
like
Bruce Wayne versus Cobblepot instead of Penguin.
Meanwhile,
versus
like when he's Batman, he's facing off against
Scarecrow.
Deathstroke or whoever else.
Whomever the villains were.
They're running with, and so maybe the detective part would be that he is like piecing together some aspects about Penguin and then realizing that he's actually shadier than what he's coming off at first or something kind of deal.
Almost kind of like as Bruce, he's figuring out what Penguin is, and as Batman, he's kind of having to put together the pieces to Deathstroke's hit list or something to that effect. Almost like, and I don't know if like a bunch of Batman fans would look at this as a good thing. You could almost utilize, as Batman, he's going after serial killers, like the Zodiac Killer could be a utilization of Deathstroke. A guy who had a number of victims he was going after, but you never knew who it was going to be. So it's him figuring out who the next victim is and if he can get there on time. And with Penguin...
That is a way that it could run with, because I think originally what you talked about was a prediction that they could be running with Deathstroke, was that somebody put out a hit on Batman, and that's how Deathstroke goes after Batman, which is possible as well. Yeah. But I think that would be an interesting turn of events too if he's not actually after Batman. Batman just keeps interfering whenever he's going after other people.
Yeah, because I could see them using, kind of like I said, the Zodiac Killer as an influence for Deathstroke and the story purposes, and then you utilize kind of modern day business for Penguin. Penguin trying to get his way into Wayne Enterprises, but Bruce has to try and fight him out, even though there's like small little loopholes that Penguin's trying to find. And Bruce has to figure out what loophole he can counteract. So you're seeing both ends of the spectrum in the same style, him trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. So you give us our detective story, you get Batman in a business sense. I mean,
it could actually turn out that Deathstroke could have been working for Penguin the whole time too. So that would be a good.
It could be like
circle.
Businessmen are the ones getting marked off. You could see that way, and we kind of come full circle with Penguin being the one who made the hits.
So that would be an interesting story, but we still don't know for sure who's going to be the villains.
Until we get a pure answer on who the villains are going to be.
We can speculate all we want, but we don't know until we figure out who's actually the villain.
Matt Reeves is like, it's going to be this guy, maybe this guy as our villains. We're not going to have any idea, and of course there's the big question of whenever this movie is going to come out. But from the sounds of it, I'm really, really happy that it sounds like they have something and they're all feeling good about it. Because, of course, early on we had the questions of if Affleck was going to stay with the role. And it seems like him and Reeves are they're kind of glued together.
I still take it with a grain of salt until I see.
I'm extremely excited because it seems like they're kind of an item, and I'm loving it.
It's like the whole Venom in MCU, not in MCU situation.
That's
take it with a grain of salt until proven otherwise.
Oh, fun fact for anybody who didn't know, Christopher Reeves is Matt Reeves' father. I didn't realize this entirely until today, actually. Christopher Reeves, for younger viewers that may not have seen extremely early Superman films, played Superman. So, Superman's son is directing the Batman. He at least followed in his father's footsteps, went to DC.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, so I just thought that was a fun fact. That's all we got really for the DC side of things. A couple Batman news, and that's about it.
So I think that's it. That's it for the week. So, I mean, just let us know what you think about Spider-Man Homecoming.
What were your issues with Spider-Man Homecoming, and are we dicks for thinking it was even at all having issues? Was it a perfect film, and we just wrong?
There are a lot of people on the internet that seem to keep saying that it's such a really good film, which it is a good film. Don't get us wrong.
It's not perfect.
Still room to improve.
A lot of that.
But let us know how you feel and what you think was an issue on your side, or if you disagree entirely, there was no problems.
And tell us what you think about the other stuff we talked about possibly Blade coming to not only Netflix, but maybe the MCU on the big screen. Of course, what would you think of Batman being almost like a double detective movie? So, with that, remember, you don't have to be a nerd to know it. Well, you don't have to know everything and call yourself a nerd. There we go. I messed it up. See ya.